Total Screen proudly presents their official podcast, On Screen, with your hosts, Tyson Gifford and William Roerig. Hello, everybody, and welcome to On Screen, the official podcast of the Total Screen. Today, we are officially going to be going over the penultimate episode of She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, as well as the 8th episode of House of the Dragon. And we'll also be discussing some news and some stuff coming up on the horizon. Let's get started. First things first, my name's Tyson.
My name's Will.
And we're going to kick things off with our On Beat segment. On Beat is where we talk about news in the past week. We're going to start things off with a few weeks ago, maybe up to about a month ago, we mentioned that Keanu Reeves was involved in a project called Devil in the White City. It was about HH Holmes, who's America's first, modern serial killer. And, a lot of outlets reporting it as Keanu Reeves' first TV series and everything like that. Well, Keanu Reeves has now dropped out of that project, so we normally wouldn't announce something like this, but since we already announced his involvement in it, it was appropriate that we announced that he dropped out of it, because that means that story is no longer valid. I also want to just take the opportunity, I said it last time, but I'll say it again. Everybody keeps reporting this as it would have been Keanu Reeves' first TV series, but he's already been in a TV series, just not in an American TV series. It was a TV series called Swedish Dicks, and it starred Peter Stormare, who was in the John Wick movies with Keanu Reeves, or at least the second John Wick movie. He had a small role at the beginning of the second one. But yeah, just need to make that correction for this story since we covered it. Our next news story, Harley Quinn, the animated series, is getting a Valentine's Day special titled Harley Quinn, A Very Problematic Valentine's Day Special. It's ordered by HBO Max for 2023.
The one cartoon HBO Max still allows to exist.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Well, next week we'll be walking back this story saying that HBO Max has canceled this.
David Zaslav strikes again.
The story will be that HBO Max has canceled all animation, not just theirs. All animation.
It's bad.
It no longer exists.
Yeah, it's like David Zaslav has something against animation or something.
My working theory now is that as a child, he didn't have Saturday morning cartoons and he had a horrible childhood.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Speaking of Zaslav, we're going to now start our new segment, This Week in Zaslav. So I actually had part of this story that was, they walked back their decision, so we won't go into that.
You gotta keep up with the news, man. The news moves fast.
Yeah, I did the show notes this morning, and it came in right after I finished, I guess, because...
Yeah.
But...
They did still do some shitty things that have not been reversed, so there's still stuff to talk about.
Yeah, they closed down Stage 13, which was a shingle focused on diverse short-form content. Recently, they'd been putting out some, anthology. They did, an anthology horror series on the CW. There was, a bunch of, each episode was, a short horror film that was all combined. That came from Stage 13. That's gone. They also laid off 125 people at Warner Brothers Television, and they got rid of Cartoon Network Studios. They just merged all of that into Warner Brothers Animation, which they'll probably get rid of in next week.
Yeah, so no original animation Cartoon Network anymore, because Cartoon Network Studios is shut down, that's a shame.
Because David Zaslav just hates cartoons.
Yes, exactly.
With all of his ire. But that is it.
Before we hear Cartoon Network shut down.
Yeah. But that's it for This Week in Zaslav. And now we're going to move on to Disney, who has delayed a huge chunk of Marvel's slate of upcoming movies. Starting off with the most obvious one, which I'm glad they delayed it. It means they're actually not going to just hire some hired gun to finish it off quickly and just make a ruined project. And that is Blade, which has been delayed just under a year. It was going to come out in November 3rd next year, 2023. It is now going to be coming out on September 6th of 2024. It's not a huge delay, but hopefully that means that they can get a new director and kind of, work out the issues with the script for Blade and kind of make something a bit more interesting, maybe make something that Mahershala is more excited about.
Yeah, and that people will be more excited about watching.
Yes.
I'm glad that they're stepping back and they're retooling it to make this the best Blade movie they can be, because the character deserves it 100%.
Yeah, definitely. But that wasn't the only delay. We also got a delay for the Fantastic Four movie, the long-awaited and anticipated Fantastic Four movie. Not as long of a delay. It was pushed back from November 8th, 2024 to February 14th, 2025. So just 4 months, or 3 months actually, yeah. So not that big. Then we also got a delay for Avengers Secret Wars, which I imagine a lot of stuff got pushed back at this point just because, of the other things being pushed back. One thing gets pushed back, and when you have a cinematic universe, that just causes a chain reaction of stuff getting pushed back. So Avengers Secret Wars got moved from November 7th, 2025 to May 1st, my birthday, 2026. So thank you, Marvel, for that birthday gift. There was also a yet untitled Marvel project, or yet to be revealed Marvel project, that was delayed from February 14th, 2025 to November 7th, 2025. And a project that was supposed to come out when Secret Wars is now going to be coming out on May 1st, 2026, another untitled Marvel project, has been completely removed from the schedule. That doesn't necessarily mean it's gone. It just means it's just not on their working schedule yet right now. That's 2 unannounced movies, so that we have no idea what those were. I bet it was Howard the Duck and Howard the Duck Part 2.
Yeah, definitely those movies. No irony, I would love to see an MCU Howard the Duck movie. I'm pretty sure they could come up with a much better movie than what they did in the 80s.
I only have vague memories of the Howard the Duck movie.
Especially since, the character is in the MCU, so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was even in Endgame.
Yeah, he was even in Endgame, yeah.
In addition to all of those Marvel delays, Disney has also delayed several other projects, but I didn't even write those down because, none of them are really that big for us, I don't think.
Right.
And that's it for our regular news segment. And now we have to finish off our news segment. Trailer discussion. A bunch of trailers came out. We whittled down that list to just 5 that we're going to be talking about. First things first, Blood Relatives, which is a really interesting take on a vampire movie that we haven't seen before.
It's basically like a vampire movie meets one of those movies where the guy finds out they have a surprise child relative that they have to now take care of.
Yeah, but with a Yiddish angle too that adds this whole other cultural perspective to it that's gonna be interesting. So it's a really interesting take on a vampire movie that we haven't seen, and it's cool that they can take a genre or a type of movie, a specific type with vampire movies that's pretty tired, and come up with something new.
Yeah, come up with something fresh. Yeah, exactly.
Next, we got a new trailer for Wendell and Wild. This is the one from the guy that basically did all the stop motion stuff for Tim Burton's projects, like James and the Giant Peach and Nightmare Before Christmas and Corpse Bride. The guy that kind of did all that stuff is doing this alongside Jordan Peele, and it features the voices of both Jordan Peele and Keegan-Michael Key reuniting as 2 characters, as the titular characters, Wendell and Wild.
Yes.
In a stop motion animation that looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. This is much more of a story trailer, giving you more of what's going on, what's the plot,
Yeah, the last trailer really didn't give us much.
Right, yeah, exactly.
So this is kind of cool. It gives us kind of a better idea of what's going on, and it looks really cool. We got another trailer for Wednesday, the Addams Family story being done on Netflix by Tim Burton that focuses primarily on Wednesday Addams. The big addition to this trailer is we got to see Uncle Fester as portrayed by Fred Armisen.
Yeah, I believe that wasn't previously announced.
I don't think so.
And he was not in any of the promo material, so that was a surprise.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like, I like this trailer a lot. It gave me like a more positive vibe on the show than the first trailer did.
Mm-hmm.
They're definitely setting it up like a mystery thing with Wednesday as like the detective.
Whoever is
it works.
I didn't mark down the name of the actress, but the actress playing Wednesday is doing a fantastic job. Jenna Ortega. She's doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, she is.
Just from the trailers, this is the Wednesday I remember, you know?
Right, yeah, exactly.
So I'm really excited to see Wednesday. I don't know if it'll be good. I always kind of walk into anything Tim Burton does recently with a lot of doubt about whether it's going to be any good. And that usually helps to protect me because a lot of his modern stuff isn't very good. But I'm holding out hope. I'm hoping it's going to be good. And we mentioned Fred Armisen playing Uncle Fester. I think that fits in a really good way just because Fred Armisen is such a weird guy, you know? And he just fits into that type of a role. So I think it's going to be interesting at the very least. Whether or not it's good, we'll have to see. Speaking of remakes or reimaginings, Velma got its first teaser trailer on HBO Max. There's a mixed reaction to this. What were your thoughts about the Velma teaser?
I wasn't a fan. It just felt like I wasn't a fan of the self-referential humor at the beginning. The screen parody was kind of cute, but I was just like, eh. It just wasn't like a very strong trailer.
I like the self-referential part at the beginning specifically because she is the troll.
Yeah, I guess.
I think that made it really work. And the screen parody stuff really works because of the Scooby-Doo language, the jinkies and the, you know, it's kind of like the terminology you hear in Scooby-Doo being put like in a screen parody just kind of really tickled me. That worked. So yeah, we'll have to see how it turns out. I'm excited for it though.
Maybe
this will be the next
longer form trailer.
Dividing between us.
Yeah, exactly.
And then lastly, we got a trailer, the long-awaited trailer for Super Mario Brothers movie.
Yes.
And you have to tell me, are you happy with Chris Son's performance?
Well, wait, let's not jump right into that. Let's talk about other things first. First of all, the animation quality is stunning. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, it looks really good and it has a style to it. Like there's like a weird kind of plushy softness to it, particularly like in the scene where it shows the mushrooms. Like it really looked to me like they were made out of like memory foam or something. And it was like a really unique look that I haven't seen in CG animated movies before. So
yeah, exactly. Like it looks like a fun movie. It opens strong. It opens with Bowser showing up in this ice kingdom. That's run by the penguins from Super Mario 64.
Yeah, Jack Black chewing up the scenery.
Yep, Jack Black.
Just with his voice
Jack Black's Bowser is fantastic, by the way. Love it.
We knew that. We knew that when he was first cast. There were like 3 roles when they did the casting and everybody was laughing and making fun of it. There were 3 casting roles that were made for that movie that were like spot on perfect. He was one. Another one was Charlie Day as Luigi.
Yep. And what was the third one in here?
I'd say Seth Rogen for Donkey Kong.
Yeah. And it's a shame. Like, I would love to hear those performances. We don't get to hear those in this trailer.
You hear a yelp from Charlie Day. I think that's,
it's not really enough to judge like what he's going to sound like as Luigi.
I don't think we really need to see something from it because just close your eyes, picture Luigi and just listen to any clip from like Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And that's, that's Luigi.
But yeah, it was a really fun clip. And then we got a second clip where we saw Mario coming out of a warp pipe into the Mushroom Kingdom, and he seems confused. He's like, where am I? So it seems like they're going with that.
Isekai.
The Isekai. That he's not from the Mushroom Kingdom. He's from the real world. They're going back to that origin. And it looks like the origin story where he first arrives in the Mushroom Kingdom. So not established.
Mm-hmm.
And then the big thing is we get to hear Chris Pratt. And I want to say the people online who've been saying it sounds like Chris Pratt are wrong.
Yeah, I agree. I think the first line you hear from him just sounds like Chris Pratt.
Yes, the first line it does. But when he says Mushroom Kingdom, here we come, or here we go, or whatever.
Yeah, he's doing kind of like a subtle New York accent. On
there's a Brooklyn accent on that line that is subtle. It's as if he's trying to do like the Super Mario Brothers Super Show voice, but like a super toned down version of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I like picked up on it. And I guess like not a lot of people picked up on that because they're like, he's just doing Chris Pratt.
Yeah, maybe they thought the second line was like Toad or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they got confused and thought that second line was somebody else speaking, or they just kind of had already stopped paying attention at that point. I don't know, but
it sounded fine to me. It didn't really blow me away. It wasn't like,
yeah,
Chris
you can't
Pratt,
have the Charles Martinet voice in full dialogue. That's just doesn't work, you know?
Yeah, it doesn't work. If you point out, well, he could change his performance for this movie. Yeah, I mean,
at that point.
At that point.
Yeah. I mean, he's still involved in the movie. He's still going to be doing voice work, so.
Yeah, he's still going to be, he's doing some voice work for this film. We don't know what. I think it's fine. I also think we maybe need to hear more of it to properly judge it. Cause again, it's so, the dialogue in this trailer is like so terse and so sparse.
Considering they didn't just drop a trailer and they did like a Nintendo Direct. I'm using quotation marks, but you can't see it because we're on a podcast. But they did a Nintendo Direct to drop this. I'm kind of surprised at how little they actually showed.
Yeah.
You know, because we haven't seen anything from this yet. It's coming out. It's not too far off now. I mean, it's like half a year.
In time for Easter.
So yeah, it's like half a year away. You think we'd get a little bit more. I thought like maybe we'd get that Bowser scene and then we'd get like a trailer that attached to the end of that. Maybe like 5 minutes of stuff. Something like that.
Yeah, I did.
Or they'd finish off the trailer and they'd maybe announce another cast member or some other detail about it or something, since they were doing a direct around it. But it was basically just people talking and then the trailer and nothing new except the trailer.
Yeah. I mean, it looks fine. I'm definitely going to see it. I'm excited. I thought everything looked good. The small, like, clips they showed with Luigi looked fantastic as well. Luigi running away from the dry bones and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
But I'm super positive on this movie.
It's funny, I saw somebody say, like, they listed, like, the top 5 grossing video game movies, and they're like, do you think that Mario is going to do better than these? And I'm like, easily.
Yeah, easily.
Like, it's gonna double whatever the number one is right now. It could very well get close to the billion point, where the last one was, I think, 400 million. I think that was, but it's gonna do easily better than that. You have to understand that Mario has an audience that aren't kids, you know, has a pretty sizable audience that aren't kids that are going to watch this because they're Mario fans. And then pretty much every kid's going to be watching this with their families as well, you know, as the big kids movie at the moment. So it's like, yeah, you're going to get like this kind of double dip from both those audiences. It's going to be pretty freaking big. I mean, it's pretty much guaranteed as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's it for our On Beat segment. And now we're going to move on to On the Horizon. We got a lot of stuff to go over, so we're going to push through this fairly quickly. On the Horizon is where we talk about what's coming up in the next week or so. And we're going to start things off with the Paloni Show Halloween special. This is an interesting project. It's Justin Roiland from Rick and Morty, and he's doing this show or this special for Hulu. This was a show that he had in development before Rick and Morty that never took off. And now he's doing like a Halloween special for a show that doesn't exist, that's primarily made up of animated shorts that are like combined into this like project of this outer framework telling the story that connects these animated shorts. So that's what it is. It's kind of an interesting project. It's going to be coming on Monday, October 17th on Hulu. Then we've got a video game coming up on Thursday, October 18th that I didn't even know existed until I was making the notes for the show. And that is Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed, which is coming out on PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and PC on Tuesday, October 18th. Did you know this existed?
No, I didn't.
So a new Ghostbusters game. Who'd have thunk it? Sticking with video games, A Plague Tale Requiem also comes out on Tuesday, October 18th on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, PC, and Switch through a cloud version. I have not played the first game. Are you interested in this at all?
No, not really.
It's a big title. I know a lot of people are talking about, but it's just doesn't seem to hit either of us as far as our interest. Next up, American Horror Story NYC is coming on Wednesday, October 9th on FX. Then Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope is coming on Thursday, October 20th on the Nintendo Switch. Are you getting this game?
Not right away.
Yeah, I never played the first one. Then Gotham Knights is coming on Friday, October 21st on PS5, Xbox Series X, and PC. Then New Tales from Borderland is coming also on Friday, October 21st on PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, Switch, and PC. I heard this is from a different developer though, so there's a lot of hesitation. People love Tales from Borderlands, but this one I think a lot of people are being a bit more cautious about. Then here is something I am going to play, and that is Persona 5 Royal, which is finally leaving PlayStation on Friday, October 21st, coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox One, and Series X, Switch, and PC. So it's expanding outward from the PlayStation that's been PlayStation exclusive for so long that it's exciting to see it spread out. Yeah. Then The Peripheral, which is a William Gibson adapted series coming to Amazon Prime. It's science fiction, kind of cyberpunk-esque science fiction, coming from Lisa Joy and Jonathan Nolan of Westworld. And that's coming also Friday, October 21st on Amazon Prime. I mean, it looks good. I have no idea. I imagine it's going to be similar to Westworld in the way that it's going to start to get a bit convoluted over time, because that's kind of their trademark.
Yeah.
Also on Friday, October 21st, but in theaters, Black Adam. So I'm not too excited. DCEU, I'm gonna see it, but I'm not dying for it. This has been, how long ago was The Rock announced as Black Adam?
Years ago.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
And then lastly, also coming to theaters is Slayers, coming on Friday, October 21st. This is another vampire movie. This one stars Thomas Jane as a vampire hunter, and he warns some influencers that are being sent out to some mansion in New Mexico, I think it is. But that's all a trap, and they're going to be hunted by vampires there.
Yeah.
So that is what's coming up on the horizon. And now that takes us to our final segment, full spoilers. This week on Full Spoilers, we're going to be talking about the penultimate episode of She-Hulk Attorney at Law, Ribbit and Rip It, and we're going to be talking about House of the Dragon, Episode 8, The Lord of the Tides. Let's kick things off with She-Hulk, and you already know my first question. It's the same question every week. What did you think of this week's She-Hulk?
I liked it. It was all right. I liked it. Mostly because Matt Murdock, Daredevil, was in it, and his interaction and the way he worked with Jen and She-Hulk was really fun. Mm-hmm. So that saved the entire episode.
I definitely liked it. I had a few concerns. It's interesting. I had so many people saying oh, the CG was so good in this episode. And I was exact opposite. I was man, all the scenes where She-Hulk's throwing the cars and stuff, I'm looks really bad to me.
Yeah. You could tell they were coming up on their CG budget or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I liked the show and I still enjoyed the episode, but man, it's so weird to see so many people going yeah, the CG was really improved. And I'm really? I didn't think so. But I liked the episode in general. It wasn't just Murdoch for me. I liked a lot of things about it. There's little things like the fact that Leapfrog's, secret lair had a giant billboard sign, a giant neon sign at the top, flashing lights, the lily pad, saying here I am, and it's his secret lair. I like touches like that. That kind of felt really kind of silly in a Harvey Birdman-esque way.
Yes, it did.
So I dug that. I thought the court trial was pretty funny. I liked that she was kind of stuck in a hard place where she just really did not want to do this trial and how she was trying to find a way to salvage her relationship with Luke the whole time, and he's just
yes.
over her.
Yeah, he's over her because she's filing a lawsuit against him, and Matt Murdock comes in and completely schools her in court.
Yeah.
She can't stand that. Well, she made a crucial mistake as a lawyer. She took on the case without getting the full story or asking the proper questions. Asking Leapfrog, did he do something stupid use jet fuel?
Yeah, I don't think she would have gotten the right answer from him anyways. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, it was all set up for a joke. Like the show doesn't take legal stuff seriously, you know. I do like the part where Matt Murdock and She-Hulk teamed up to stop her client because he had abducted Luke Jacobson, and as he's like, I thought you work for me or something. And she's like, I am. I'm trying to help you here. And she's like running through his possible legal defense. And like Daredevil's chiming in. And he's like, what, is he a lawyer too? And he's like, no, I just love legal dramas.
Yeah.
I thought that was really good. I really liked, like you said, the chemistry and the relationship between Murdoch and Jennifer was really cool. I loved the hookup, and the walk of shame afterwards was really funny.
Yes.
And I also really liked how they did the setup for the last scene, which is that, you know, Jennifer's like genuinely confused about why the camera is still sticking with her. She's like, why are you still here? Isn't this over? This is like the good ending point for the episode. That's when they do her, you know, every episode has like a pretty big
next episode.
Yeah, it has a pretty big like fourth wall break moment or something. And this moment is a setup for what ends up happening, which is that the intelligentsia finally makes their move. And it happens when she's at a Female Lawyer of the Year award ceremony, which was funny too, because they set up the whole, it's funny in a sad way, because they set up the whole like thing, like a Miss America pageant, basically.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Where they had all of them get on stage, and then they're like asking them like total like Miss America questions about like, you know, it's very like patronizing, and you can see like all the lawyers are going along with it, but none of them are really happy about it. And it seemed like Jennifer didn't realize that was the case until she got up on stage. And then she gets humiliated by intelligentsia, who puts up her personal information, her tweets, everything. I like the way they just said, like, you know, oh, this is all of her information, and she's a slut. Like, they threw it out like a offhand comment at the end. But yeah, they do that and they piss her off, and Mallory, who was her attorney in the Titania case, basically trying to warn her not to freak out, but it's too late. She does, and she has a bad reaction, and we get to see your favorite villains from Ms. Marvel make an appearance. Damage Control.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, I guess everything leads into the finale this week. So we'll see how that goes down. But overall, I enjoyed this episode. Mostly all the stuff involving Daredevil. Daredevil and Jen are a great team. The rest of it, not so much, but, you know, that's the way it goes.
There were little cool things. I like that they did a hallway fight for Daredevil.
Yes.
That was a fun little callback.
Yeah, that was a fun callback. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, Daredevil stuff was great.
Yeah. I thought it was all pretty good. I enjoyed it. All the little bits of it. Like I said, I loved the whole, like, secret hideout thing. I thought that was funny. But that's it for this week's She-Hulk. And now we're going to move on to House of the Dragon, Episode 8, The Lord of the Tides.
Yes.
Which is the House of the Dragon Thanksgiving special.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's been 6 years since the previous episode. Corliss Valerian is apparently very injured or very ill, and is potentially dying. He's not dead yet. There's no point in the episode where they definitively say he's dead, but he's potentially dying, and so they're trying to prepare for that by taking up the issue of, you know, who's going to be the Lord of the Tides, which is like the head of the Valerian seat, basically.
So this is almost like a trial run for the king dying.
Yeah.
In the sense that the person who is the picked heir to take over as the Lord of the Tides is one of the princess's bastards, who everybody knows about, but nobody's saying anything. It's a preempt for what's going to happen when the king dies.
Basically, what the understanding was that Rhaenyra's son Jace was supposed to be the succession to the Lord of the Tides. That is what Corliss said. That is what they decided upon. But with Jace's parentage in question, Corliss's brother, Daemon Valerian, decides to challenge Jace's claim and claim that he should be the Lord of the Tides because he is the closest true Valerian heir. Being that Jace is not a true Valerian and has no legitimate claim. Not just
ignoring the fact that his brother didn't care about that and had already decided that it was going to be him, but also just completely ignoring that Lyanna had, you know, legitimate children with Daemon because they're girls. And so even though it's settled succession according to the king for his daughter to take over as queen of the country upon his death as his heir, it shows that there's still opposition to that he also doesn't even consider the possibility that it could be one of Croesus's actual blood grandchildren that actually does exist. Can't take that role either. So that's not even a possibility that's thought of, which it just tells you it's going to be a big issue when the king dies.
Yes.
And the matter of his succession comes up, even though it's in quotation marks again, settled, that this is going to be a huge issue because they're not even considering the possibility of a female being an heir for just a lord of a household, let alone a kingdom.
So with this in question, Rhaenyra and Daemon and their children head back to King's Landing from Dragonstone to petition for Jace's claim to be recognized by the court. At this point, King Viserys is deathly ill. He's been rotting away all season, and he's at his absolute worst now. Like, half his face is gone.
Yeah.
Literally.
Missing an eye, and he's got like, you can see right through his mouth because he's got like a hole in his cheek. He's got holes in his back.
He's doped out on milk of the poppy pretty much 24/7.
Yeah, you like the scene where Daemon like had handed him the cup, and when he takes it back, he like sniffs it and is like kind of gives that look like, oh, what the fuck, you know?
So realistically, the expectation is Alicent is going to be the one deciding this, settling this matter.
Well, and they return to the castle, and this is the castle from Game of Thrones, not that we saw before in House of the Dragon. All the dragon murals are covered up or gone. There's like 7-pointed stars everywhere.
Yeah, turns out Alicent's found religion.
Yeah, I mean,
he's like,
it fits.
I'm full of religion now.
It fits.
Yeah, it fits.
Karen found religion. And,
yeah. And Alicent,
that's not too shocking that happened.
And Alicent promises that her new religion, that she will be unbiased in her decisions.
Well, her father literally sits on the Iron Throne and
yes,
is like being provocative and shit.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
And her children are a fucking nightmare. Now, Aegon, her oldest child, is married to her daughter.
Yes.
So he's married to his sister, and they have, I think, 3 children. I know they're supposed to have 3 children. I don't know if they have 3 children yet, but they have 3.
I don't know if those
they'll
children
eventually have
exist
3 children.
Point.
They mentioned they had children.
And Aegon's become something of a rapist.
Yeah, he rapes the maid who was taking care of the children.
The handmaiden, you know, like, word gets to Alicent. Alicent confronts her in a very tense scene. Because I don't know what Alicent's
tries to act
do.
all pious while making, like, veiled threats.
Yeah. Basically, her solution is just send this woman away. She gives her first, like, moon tea to kill, like, any potential pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's basically like, yeah, we're getting rid of you. We're gonna hide you away somewhere now.
Yeah.
Nothing cruel. It's funny because, like, look online, apparently people thought, like, she gave her poison, and I'm like, no, why would she poison her? It's moon tea. Because, like, Aegon raped her. She doesn't want, like, any unwanted pregnancies to come out of that.
I thought she might have been trying to kill her, but I knew that wasn't poison. I knew that was, because it was just basically a throwback to what happened with the princess, you know, before. Like, they were showing the parallel. Also, as a bit of hypocrisy for Alicent for how outraged she was about the princess doing that, and then, you know, having to take care of the political situation with her son doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Or much worse, actually.
Don't worry, she gives Aegon a pretty stern talking to.
Yeah. They aged up these kids again, and I don't know what they're doing. It's kind of weird. Like, Aegon, last time we saw him, was like a very tall, lanky kid, and now he's like much shorter than his brother.
Yeah, the older, like, Aegon actor doesn't really resemble the younger actor much.
Yeah, like not at all.
Yeah.
And then apparently the princess's kids are just straight up hobbits.
Yeah.
Because they're both like 3 feet tall.
Aemond is interesting. Aemond is like basically Daemon 2.0.
Yeah.
Like, that's what he's become.
There's even some, like, knowing looks between the two of them at different points that makes it almost seem like, you know, game recognizes game or something.
Right, yeah. Well, Aemond has decided in the past 6 years that he was just going to dedicate himself to being a badass, I guess. We see him in the court sparring with Kristen Cole and basically outmatching him.
Yeah, definitely. He's a badass now.
Yeah.
He's leaning into his one eye thing, making himself look even more badass.
Yeah. And he's basically become like the sort of like brooding, quiet sort who then like at a moment's notice will snap and do something crazy or say something crazy, just like Damon.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's very much a Damon, but with a bit of a meaner streak, I think, than Damon has.
Yeah.
Like Damon was like provocative, and then like he would leave the public scene where he was being provocative and he would be all like thoughtful.
Yeah.
And Eamon seems to be like provocative, and then he leaves the scene and he's just like, I want to kill people.
Right, yeah.
So he's just kind of like a more like fully evil Damon or something. At least from what we've seen so far of him at this point. Their sister, like I said, is married to the older brother, Aegon, and she's still having dragon dreams.
Yeah.
Where she's seeing the future because she recounts the future relationship between one of the Valerian boys, who's the one who's going to be king, who's going to be marrying his now stepsister, I guess.
So pretty much they exist at court until the time when they gather around the Iron Throne to make the decision on the inheritance of the Lord of the Tides. Another thing what happened is Rhaenys Valerian, who is Corlys's wife, she shows up and confronts Rhaenyra, and Rhaenyra basically pleads with her to support her claim, going so far as to like say what happened to Laenor had nothing to do with me. Like, this was not planned, because at this point, Rhaenys' belief is like Daemon planned this out and did it. And so she does blame Daemon and Rhaenyra for what happened to Laenor.
And if only they could tell her under the table somehow that, like, he's still alive. He's in Essos with his boyfriend,
Right, yeah. Yeah, but they can't.
But they can't do that because then they risk exposure on that issue.
But then they gather around to make the decision. And then he gets surprised. Viserys shows up. And he hobbles his way onto the Iron Throne.
That was brutal.
Yeah, that was brutal. Previously, Rhaenyra did visit him in his bedroom and beg for his support.
Yeah, she was basically saying, like, this is hard. I don't even really want to do this. Like, I thought I wanted the succession. I don't even care about it anymore. But I'm doing it because of the prophecy you told me and that you believe in this. And then she says, do you still believe in this? And if you do, then you need to support me and my children.
Right.
And he can't really answer her because he's doped up out of his mind. But he apparently heard it, and he shows up for her sake.
Yeah, that was a brutal scene because he's just basically crawling, to the Iron Throne. He starts getting up the steps, and he drops his crown, and we see Daemon pick it up, and we see Daemon help him to the chair. Now, with the awesome thing, that's a great scene. That's a fantastic scene right there.
Well, first off, we should say that before Daemon did that, another knight had come to his aid, and the king kind of pushed him away and said, no, I'm going to do this myself.
Yeah.
And then when Daemon comes and does it and reaches out for his shoulder, it's like the king's about to do that again. And then he notices it's his brother and he accepts it.
Yes, he accepts it. Yeah, that's a great thing because it shows how much Daemon cares for his brother, even though, like, they had their spats in the past. Now, at the end of Viserys' life, Daemon is showing much more
compassion.
A compassion, being more of a loving brother, right?
And it read as genuine, too. Like, I don't know how genuine it was, but it read as genuine when it happened. It read like he genuinely stepped forward out of compassion for his brother.
Now, here's what happened with that scene, behind the scenes. The showrunner said that entire scene was an accident. Paddy Considine did drop the crown. The crown was not supposed to fall off of Viserys' head. Paddy Considine dropped the crown off of his head, and Matt Smith, without missing a beat, ran to his side and picked it up for him. And they just kept that as the scene.
And that works.
Yeah. Yeah, that works. Yeah.
Yeah, it works. I definitely felt that Daemon had genuine compassion for his brother in that moment.
Yes.
So he helps him to the throne, and the king's like, why am I suffering so many fools? This was settled matter. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, like, why is everybody like turning the settled matter into something again? This was done. And this sets off Corlius's brother, Vaemon Valerian, who is making a claim for it.
Yeah.
And he signs his own death certificate.
He signs his own death certificate because, well, he speaks the truth. Like, I gotta give credit to Vaemon. Vaemon is sitting there. He knows what the truth is. Like, everybody in this room knows what the truth is. And he kind of feels like he's on crazy pills. Like, people are just willfully, especially
like
the king
being
is
gaslit,
being gaslit. Especially the king is just willfully ignoring it. But he makes the mistake of saying the truth, which is something like nobody except for, obviously, the Greens want to hear. As least of all, Viserys.
Well, Daemon wanted to hear
it. Yeah.
Daemon's like, say it.
Daemon's like, say it, yeah. Daemon wants some violence for sure. Yeah, because he goes out and says it. He calls Rhaenyra's children bastards. You know,
not only that,
very
he calls her a whore.
Yeah. And this causes Viserys to pull out his dagger, threaten to cut out his tongue. But before he can do that, Daemon slices his head in half.
Yeah, straight Spartacus style.
Yeah.
like, not his head off, his head in half.
Yes. And Daemon just said, quits. You know, he can keep his tongue.
Yeah.
And the matter is settled. Jace is named the Lord of the Tides, and that's it.
Or the heir to the Lord of the Tides.
Yeah, heir to the Lord of the Tides, yeah, because, again, Corlys is not dead. Status unknown at this point.
Yeah, if only Vaemon hadn't said it, he could have been announced as the Lord of the Dance.
Yeah. So this leads into another big scene where they're all having dinner together.
Well, like, as the scene's ending, the king's like, I want to have dinner with my whole family. My whole family's here. And they're all like, oh, you're so ill. You can't do it. And he's like, no. He's like, I want to do this.
Yeah.
My whole family's here. I want to have dinner with everybody I care about. And immediately you can just feel the tension and the hatred between everybody on all sides. And then the king takes off. He's wearing this golden mask that's covering off half of his face.
Oh, yeah. He makes this impassioned speech about,
he takes off that mask.
He takes off that mask, yeah. And he makes this impassioned speech about how they're all family and they should be getting along.
Yeah, he's like, if you're not going to do it for the sake of the throne, then do it for the sake of this old man.
Yeah. And we get some nice things. We get, like, between Alicent and Rhaenyra, we get a sense that maybe they can reconcile. They start talking to each other, you know, like they're friends again, you know.
Well, there's a hesitancy there, but there's like a willingness on both sides to try to make this work. It seems very
genuine.
Go
back to the way things used to be.
Yeah, that seems very genuine.
Yeah.
To the point that Alicent says, you should stay for a bit longer. You just got here. And the princess is like, well, let me take my family home and I'll return on Dragonback and spend time with you and my father, you know, and
unfortunately, Alicent's kids don't know how to behave.
Yeah. Well, none of the kids do because there's stuff on both sides. There's some stuff is said out loud and some stuff is just kind of sniggered in a way that sets other people off because, well, first off, right off the bat, the biggest asshole there, Aegon, is like constantly making snide comments about the marriage between
Jace and
well, it wouldn't be Jace, it would be the other one because the Lord of the Tidelands is the other brother.
Oh, wait, was it Luke?
I don't know which is which, honestly.
I don't either.
The one who's supposed to be king is supposed to be marrying one of Daemon's daughters, who's
supposed to be
daughter.
king?
It's either Luke or Jace. I don't know.
Okay.
If it's Jace, then we were saying Jace wrong the whole time in the last part we were talking about. Because it's the other one. One's supposed to be the king and the other one's supposed to be Lord of the Tidelands.
Actually, we see this episode that Rhaenyra and Daemon have a baby born together, which is Aegon III. Oh, twins. Okay.
Yeah, because there's Aegon and Viserys, because they named one. So now there's two Aegon Targaryens. First off.
Yeah. First off, now there's two Aegons. Yeah. Rhaenyra's kid and Daemon's son is Aegon III, and he's actually Rhaenyra's true heir.
Yeah. And then Viserys is the other one, is the twin who is named after her father. And they have that moment where the father says, now that's a name for a king. And he like laughs.
Yeah.
So they have two more kids, true-born this time. But as I was saying, Aegon is making all these snide comments about the marriage of the princess's oldest child, and God, we're so bad with these names. I just can't keep up on these names, man.
Fine.
The princess's oldest child and Damon's oldest daughter, who are going to be married.
Yes.
And he keeps making snide comments to both of them, saying to her, like, you know, oh, I'm sad that you're going to be straddled with such a disappointment.
If you want a real man, just call me, right? And
then other snide comments made to the heir as well. And then as he's making all these snide comments and pissing him off, Rhaenyra's son gets up and dances with Aegon's wife, his sister.
Yeah.
But they're not like playing it up like sexual. They're just like having fun like cousins would. Yeah. Just kind of like hanging out and kind of just being like, kind of like cousins, or I guess she's his aunt.
And then there's like a roast pig is brought in and sat in front of Aemond, and they start making snide comments.
Well, they're
about
like sniggering. They didn't even like say
sniggering.
anything. They're just kind of sniggering and smiling at him.
That sets Aemond off. And, whew, you know.
He rises in the veil of making a toast.
Yeah.
And he says, there's such kind, good, strong children. Of course, you know, since their father was Sir Strong.
Right,
so,
yeah.
Playing at the infidelity, this causes a fight, all sorts of crap. You can see that this is just whatever's going to happen. This is going to go to war, even if the two old friends are reunited, it doesn't matter. Their kids are completely in opposition.
Before they can really get into it, though, Daemon steps in front of Aemond, and you can see like Aemond's like sizing him up and just walks away. It's like, yeah. Not going to step to that, at least not now.
And then we get the complete mindfuck at the end of the episode, which is that all messed up high on Milk of the Poppy.
Oh yeah,
Viserys
in his last moments with his
he answers his daughter from the night before, but to his wife.
Yeah, to Alicent. And Alicent doesn't know, like, Rhaenyra was asking him about the prophecy.
Yeah.
And he's finishing that conversation now with Alicent, who knows nothing about the prophecy. And so Alicent is just sitting there, like, confused as hell, and she's just hearing words come out of Viserys' mouth, like Aegon and Prince who was promised.
Unite the realm.
The realm. And she's thinking, oh, this must mean he's endorsing my son to be king. I need to fight for this.
So she initially looks a little conflicted, and then she's like, I understand. And then as she walks away, you see Viserys take his like last breaths.
Yes.
And he finally dies.
Rip Viserys.
Yeah, went out causing a civil war by accident.
You're right. that means next episode is going to be a shit show.
Yeah.
Because now Alicent, Rhaenyra, and like their families are going to be at each other's throats over the succession.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Game of Thrones, and this isn't Game of Thrones, this is a spin-off done by different people, but Game of Thrones was known that their penultimate episodes were their big episodes. That was when all the crazy shit happened, and then the finale was more just like set up for the next season.
Right.
Well, this next episode is going to be the penultimate episode of House of the Dragon's first season.
Yeah.
So, if this goes along Game of Thrones lines, that means that shit is going to hit the proverbial fan.
Yes. Well, we've known all along since the show started. This was building pressure up until the point Viserys dies and all that pressure is released.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's dead. So, what do you think's going to happen? Yeah. And it is the penultimate episode of the season.
Yes. Yep. And so, that's it for the episode. Were you excited that you were able to see this episode?
Yes, I was excited that there was no lighting snafus. That was nice. No scenes in the dark.
We immediately, before we started watching the video, we immediately turned off all the lights. Which we never do when we watch TV here, but like, it was just a matter of, we're not going to be able to see it, you know? And then it ended up being unnecessary, but... So I'm excited to see these final 2 episodes. I think the next episode is probably going to be crazy. We will be back next week to talk about the penultimate episode of House of the Dragon, as well as the season finale of She-Hulk Attorney at Law. So stay tuned for both of those and whatever other news and stuff happens to be around at that point. But until then, you can follow us on Twitter. I am at Tyson Gifford. Will is at Voxel Hero. You can check out our Facebook page, our website, the Total Screen thetitlescreen.com. If you go to that website and check any of the container stories for any of these podcast episodes, you'll find all the relevant links to all of our social platforms, everything. That's like the best way to find all of that information. And of course, as I said, the best way to actually reach out to us and contact us is on Twitter, at VoxelHero for Will, at Tyson Gifford for me. Thank you everybody for listening. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you for listening to the OnScreen podcast, the official podcast of The Total Screen. Visit our website at thetitlescreen.com. This podcast can be found on any major podcast client, including Pocket Cast and Apple Podcast. The entire backlog of this podcast and other content can be found on our YouTube channel.